So I'm Molly Jo.
And I'm Mary Grace.
And we are on a mission to find better ways to serve our communities and support our priests.
Yes, and today with us, we are very excited to have Father Jordan. Father, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this, and thank you for having me on. My name is Father Jordan Bradshaw, and I am currently working as the director at the University of Washington Newman Center, and I have been working there now. I should say working. I have been ministering there for the last 12 years. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but wow. There I am. Like I said, that's where I have been, and it's been a wonderful time. So yeah. So I'm originally from a small town on the border, Nogales, and there's been a number of priests that come out of my little town. So we had some good priests there. We had one parish at the time. There's more now, but grew up in a family, two sisters, and my father passed away several years ago. Not several, but over 20 years ago. And my mother and my sisters live in Arizona. They're both married and have kids. So,
oh wow,
that's who I am.
So, Father, I'm just going to point out the obvious. You are a Dominican.
Yes.
So up to this point on our show, we've only had diocesan priests.
Right.
So do you mind just taking just a brief moment to clarify for us and any of our viewers that may not be familiar with what the difference is between a Dominican priest and a diocesan priest?
Sure. Well, first of all, certainly the thing that is what makes us similar is the priesthood itself. So in that sense, I'm no different than any other priest, diocesan, otherwise. I belong to a religious order, as you said. And so Dominican is someone who entered the religious life that belongs to a group of men with a certain kind of charism. You talked about charism. And the order was founded in the 1300s with the idea of preaching, and that was what was needed, and that's what St. Dominic saw. Now the difference, okay, so we're a worldwide order. There's Dominicans all over the place, just like there are diocesan priests all over the place. But a diocesan priest obviously is what, in a particular region with a particular bishop, whereas we have what I call my superior is the provincial, who's from Oakland, but we have more of a freedom, if you will, of moving around. So our province, our region, which is we call the Western province, goes as far north as Anchorage, Alaska, all the way down to northern Mexico, and as far east as Utah. So a religious order has, a region that is larger than a diocese or an archdiocese. So there's much more freedom to go to different areas depending upon where we have a particular community. So that's the difference. The priesthood is the same, but the religious life is different. I live, the other thing that would be different is I live in a community of men. So for example, here in Seattle, I live with 6 other men, 6 of which are priests and one who's going to be arriving who's a seminarian. That would be the other difference. And not that diocesan priests don't live with another priest or 2 other priests, but in our way of communal life, we're always going to have at least 3 or 4 in a community. So that would be the other difference. And when we entered the seminary, for example, I lived with another, 60 people, priests and religious brothers. It was our seminary. So there's always that difference as well, if you will. There's always going to be at least 3 or 4 of us living together. And it just so happens here that there will be 7 of us. There are 6 of us. Right now there are 6 priests. And as I say, 1 seminarian. So that's kind of the difference too. So there's the region area, traveling. There's the communal aspect, which draws us together. So that's kind of the basic stuff that marks us is different. But the priesthood is the same. Got ordained like they did, got ordained by a bishop like they will. So in that sense, much of the education is the same. You know, we end up what they call with a Master's of Divinity, as I did too, which is the degree you need to become a priest. So your brother will get one too.
And how long have you been ordained, Father?
Well, I have been ordained 28 years. This is my 28th year. And if you add my years in seminary, I've been a Dominican 36 years, but 28 years, and I was ordained in Oakland. That's where our seminary is, and was ordained there on June 6th, whatever 28 years ago is. And yeah, so I've been ordained, and I've worked in different ministries in those 28 years. You know, I've worked, this is my second time at the University of Washington Newman Center. Been here before. I was also pastor here at the Church of Blessed Sacrament. Most of my priesthood has been here in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
So I've been in Phoenix and I've been in California, but most of my years as a priest has been here in Seattle, whether it be at the Newman Center or here at Blessed Sacrament. So I've been here quite a number of years, but 28 years. 20 years as a priest, and I can say that it seems to have gone fast. It's quick. Although there are some days, you know, where it seems longer. But I can't believe I've been ordained this long. And I don't feel any different, other than no hair and things like that. I don't feel any different from the time I was ordained. Obviously, you know, the body says something different than the mind says. But yeah, I mean, you know, thanks be to God that I've been ordained that long. So yeah, so it's amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So surprise question. We didn't prep you with this one, but if you could professionally play any sport in the world, what sport would it be?
Well, I played basketball in high school.
Yeah?
And basketball was always, in terms of playing, favorite sport. And if I could be a professional basketball player, or if I could have been, that's the one sport that I would have chosen. Now, having said that, I like NFL football, and I also like soccer. So I would say that basketball would be the first choice, and then followed by soccer second. But I played in high school, and I've just loved it. And I wish I could play more now, but as I say, you know, the mind says one thing, but the body says something else. But if I could be, and if I was a basketball player, I've always, I always joke that if I was 6'8", I probably would have played in, you know, in the NBA, but wasn't blessed with that height. But yeah, so, and a lot of my friends, a lot of my good friends are still guys that played with me in high school. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. NBA. Favorite team, Phoenix Suns. They are lousy, but once you, you know, grew up with them and you love them, and no matter where they are and how bad they play, I am still a great fan of that organization. That was an easy question.
Well, let's see if we can come up with some harder ones.
Yeah, we have another one for you.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite movie, like trilogy or series or collection?
You know, I was just asked that, and and that was a hard answer to, well, actually, I do have a favorite movie that goes way back.
Okay.
And in the 50s, it's called Stalag 17. And it is about a prison camp and about a guy who's going to escape eventually. But it's kind of a humorous thing. And I don't know if you're familiar with Hogan Heroes. Maybe your parents, are you familiar with that?
Yes.
That movie inspired that particular program. And so it's got the comedic side to it, but it's a little bit more serious, and it's got the funny, you know, German soldier and things like that. It's more serious, but that would be my favorite movie, I think. Now, I love Disney movies.
You can't go wrong with Disney.
And my favorite Disney movie, well, I used to say it was Beauty and the Beast, but I have changed my mind. And it now is Tangled. I don't know why, but it's now become my favorite. So Stalag 17, love Disney, and I am a sucker for romance movies. I just love romance movies. Yeah, anything that is good that way, I enjoy it. Now, can I give you a favorite one? Gosh, there's so many, there's so many that I can choose from.
If you want to do like top 3, if that's easier, that's also acceptable.
Okay, so Stalag 17, then I would say Tangled, and then you asked for a trilogy. I would probably say Lord of the Rings, so. But I have to say, I'm also, well, those are my top 3, but since you said that, I'm going to say Marvel too. I love the Avengers, the hero kind of genre, so.
Then maybe we should ask, which Avenger are you?
Boy, if I had to be an Avenger, I think I would be probably Captain America. It's kind of down to earth, not the big superpower kind of thing, but it's got the leadership going. It's got the cool shield, and it just got that charisma about him that I like about him. The other ones have, some of the superpowers. Iron Man obviously has the man-made, but I don't know. I just like him. I like him. I like who he is. In fact, I watched a Marvel movie today as I was walking on the treadmill. So yeah. That's who I'd be.
That's a good choice. Sound reasoning for that. So, Father, you mentioned that you've been at the UW Newman Center for a long time. Was that, when you were in seminary, was that the kind of ministry that you thought you were going to be involved in once you were ordained?
Well, no, and I'll tell you why. Because we take a vow of obedience, just like a diocesan priest does to his bishop. Mm-hmm. And so we really don't have a choice where we're going to end up in that sense. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, they sent me to a parish in Phoenix, which I really loved. I mean, I was there for 3 years. It was, in many ways, a place that formed me as a young priest. And in fact, I'm doing weddings now of kids who were in the elementary school. Now, wow. So we had a policy that if you started out in the parish, your next assignment would be a Newman Center.
Oh.
And so if you started out at a Newman Center, then your next ministry would be at a parish. So I happened to be at the parish. They sent me up here to Seattle. And I have to say, and not just because I've been here 12 years, but I've enjoyed campus ministry more. Not that I've not disliked parish ministry. I was only at the Newman Center the first time 2 years before they made me pastor here. And so wherever I've been has been a good experience for me. But if you were to say, well, what would you do now? I would say campus ministry. And I think that's what I would do. And but like I said, in the parishes, I know a lot of people now. So that would be my choice, my first choice. I have to do what they tell me. So if they said, hey, you're going to go to a parish, then I'm going to go to a parish,
Yeah. Is there something specific about campus ministry or just the general atmosphere that draws you?
I think a couple of things. It reminds me of my own experience at the Newman Center at the University of Arizona, and being very involved and just making a lot of friends, establishing friendships that I still have. And so I just remember the atmosphere. I remember the priest, and was always a big churchgoer, but just really liked what was going on there. And so when I came back here, there were certainly, good memories of coming back here and working with younger people that reminded me, in a sense, of what I had back then. And so working with younger people and their enthusiasm, their desire for faith, reminds me a bit of that time when I was there. And that's what I like about a Newman Center, is people coming in, walking with them through these years, and then they move on, which is not the easiest, but there's always a contact. But I think it's just a reminder of the blessing that I had when I was at the Newman Center. That was just a very good experience where I was in my own life. And so reminds me of, or I want to provide, I think, the same kind of atmosphere that I had back then. So
Wow,
I enjoy young people. So, and I enjoy the enthusiasm that they bring. I enjoy the questions that they have. I've learned a lot from them because they have wonderful ideas, and this hunger to know more about the faith is wonderful.
You talked about how, like, you mentioned that you like helping them, like, when they're in college and everything at the Newman Center, but also, like, when they get out, because that can be, like, a tough period. What are some ways that people can help be involved in ministry at, like, a Newman Center or, like, with a youth group? What's, like, a good way to help out without, like, devoting all of your time and energy to it, you know?
Well, I think the big thing for me is just the personal contact. And so when I see someone that's new, I like to go and introduce myself. I think that personal touch is so important. And then to make a connection from myself and introducing them to another student that's been involved there. I think that's very important. But that's always, the first thing is the personal touch to make sure. Now, I'm horrible with names, and I'm just going to say that. I'm not good with names, but I recognize faces. And I think that one of the things that I do, or I pride myself in doing, that once I meet you, and I always say hello. Unfortunately, I have to ask your name again. But once I see you, and I think that the other personal touch is just to, if they're not around, just to ask them where they've been. What's up? I haven't seen you. You know, there's that kind of thing. And just, that's the first thing. And we have a group of students who are called prayer ministers. So it's my first, you know, hello, how are you? Welcome. But then kind of moving them off to them, because they're going to be more involved in the ministry. And so I want to make sure that they make a contact there and kind of continue to make sure that they have that contact. And so I like to see them. I'm not great with names, as I say, recognize faces. And when I recognize a face, and if I haven't seen you around, I always make it a point to go up and say, hi, how are you? I haven't seen you. What's going on? Kind of thing. So that's the main thing. It's just that personal touch and making them feel welcomed. And always in terms of the ministry, because I'm only a part of it. You know, I'm the director. I'm going to be doing other things. So I want them to make sure, I want a student to make sure, and one way to get involved is making that connection with another student, connecting them with Father Marching, who's the other priest in the ministry, and then also making sure that they meet Bailey, who's the campus minister. So I'm trying to make these connections so that they can get involved and be excited about it. Now, they're not going to be involved to the point that one would like, but the most important thing for me is, you know, the Mass. And so if they come to Mass, for me, that's the biggest victory and blessing. You know, if I see you there, you know, right on. But if I see you involved with other things, you know, that just makes it even better. But the Mass is the first thing that I want to get them to. And I think that's the way to begin, is by getting them to church and then working on other things and hopefully some kind of involvement with the people they connect with.
I think that's a really good point, like what you said about getting that point of contact, because I think, especially in today's age, like, we get so caught up, like, doing everything virtually, which, I mean, in this time of quarantine has been really helpful, but we forget the value that there is to community. And that's, like, something that I actually really love about, you know, like, joining an order like Dominican life, is you have that community that you can share, that common ground. And I think people don't realize what an effect it can have if you just go up to someone and reach out and make that effort. Even if it's really small, just the difference it makes to help you relax. Even if you're the one reaching out, if you made that effort, it makes you relax so much more knowing that you did something.
I hope so, you know, I hope so, but I think you're right. I mean, I think it's important. I think that any of us, you know, both of you included, anything you do, I mean, just to make anyone feel welcome is an incredible thing, you know? And so that's how I like to approach it. You know, I think with Jesus, you know, making those contacts and making people feel welcomed. And so, but you're right, you got to make this connection. It's hard right now with the pandemic,
Right.
because there's not that. I mean, now people are coming back and you get to see them, you know, which is a real blessing. But it's just different right now. And I certainly pray, like all of us are praying, that this go away. But my prayer is for students to come back and to be able to come back to that community and be a part of the Neiman scene. So.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Oh, well, the thing that stood out to me from what you said was not only after making that initial point of contact and getting that relationship, but making sure that you introduce them to at least one other person.
Yeah.
So that if they come to other stuff and you're not there, or you have to leave or something, they have someone else that they can talk to. Because I know for me, if I go to an event where I don't know someone, or I'll find that one person that I know and I'll latch onto them. And then if they disappear, it's like, oh no, what do I do? So it's important to expand their community and to introduce them to other people so that they have more of an opportunity to get involved in the community.
That's right. And in fact, I mean, I think priests do it too. I mean, when I go to other priest events, I always latch on to the one I know. You know, not that I don't know many of them, but it's easier, like you say, just to, you know, see a familiar face, get to know, and you say, okay, I'm going to go here. And, you know, they kind of extend, they make the circle bigger. But hey, priests do the same thing. I do the same thing when I go to larger priest events. I'm going to recognize someone and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go say hi to them just like you do, both of you maybe, at any event.
I also
with each other.
I also forget though that a lot of the time when people are going to things like the Newman Center, they're going because they're trying to build a better Catholic community. They're trying to get to know more people to help them. And so they're hoping that you will walk up and introduce yourself. I forget that so much.
Right. Well, you know, you're right. I mean, just walking up, but to come to a community, I mean, any college or university is such a big scene that you want to come to a place where you're going to feel welcome, right? And it makes that bigger, you know, community down and feel more comfortable and where they're at, you know. So I think that's very important. Yeah.
So you mentioned within the Newman Center that you oversee the different ideas and stuff that the students have. And I know, I mean, I went to your Newman Center through undergrad. So I know there are different teams and ministries that the students do that you oversee, such as social justice, evangelization and outreach. There's a team focused on liturgy.
Right.
Is there a specific team, is there a specific ministry out of those that you really enjoy or you're especially passionate about?
Okay, so that's a good question. So, yeah, I oversee everything and just make sure that things are going well, make sure that, so I hear about things and what's going on, because a lot of my interaction is going to be with people who, quite frankly, make donations so that the Newman Center can run. And that's the one thing that's hard, but I like to, as the director, as any director, just make sure that all these things are going well. Right now, I'm working with the young adults, and and that's been a good experience for me. And I know a lot of the people that are there, but it's something else that I really haven't done a lot. And so when I got to the Newman Center, my first thing was like, okay, I want to be involved with the undergrads, and I'm going to, at that time, Father Lucas, okay, you're going to work with the young adults. So we kind of split up things. And then this time when Father Marching came back, I said, okay, now you look at the undergrads, work with Bailey, work with everything, and I'll go on this direction. But I do get involved with everybody else. But right now, the young adults, young professionals, grad and what we call young professionals, for Saudi at the Newman Center, something that is exciting because, again, people who came from a religious background, who want community, and who are still curious and to learn their faith. So I'm enjoying that ministry a lot. But I like all of it, so.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask you to pick favorites. I know the competition between the student ministry teams. So, Father, in conclusion, do you have resources, either videos or books or articles, that you would recommend to people that are trying to maybe start their own young adult community or get more involved, liven up their Newman Center, find a Newman Center?
Right.
Do you have any resources?
Yeah, well, I think the first resource, I mean, for anyone coming in to a place, you know, the diocese or archdiocese is going to have some kind of a website or a link. That's the first place to go to, I think.
Okay.
And then also, too, depending on what parish you're at, normally a parish will have some kind of outreach to young adults, right? So it's good to make that connection there. And like here in the Archdiocese, there's a real good connection between, you know, all these young adult groups. And so by first going to the diocese and then going to your parish, you'll learn about these other groups. And they're very good about connecting. And so that's one way to do it, is to get involved that way. And like you said, just like young adults, then they're going to meet someone, you know, like what you said, they're going to latch on to someone, and they're going to get used to that particular community. So a lot of times it's just links. It's people, someone you meet, you know, a lot of people coming into Seattle, again, want that smaller community type of thing. But it really is going to be, first of all, I mean, my recommendation would be to diocese link, parish link, and then they'll put you in contact with someone. And then again, what I do is welcome them and put them in contact with Amira, who's in charge of the young adults at Neiman, and make the connection there. So that's what I do. But I don't know what other priests do, so.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Father.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This has been very nice. And how many of these have you done now?
This is number 3, I believe.
3. And you have a list of people.
Oh, yes. We have a list of all of the priests and seminarians we know through various connections. So. Well,
thank you. I mean, this is, like you said, I appreciate it from a priest to say that this is a wonderful way that you're supporting us. So thank you for doing that. And I think that it is a blessing to have people like you say, hey, what can we do for your priest? And I'm very grateful for that. And I hope you got the same response from other priests as well.
Would you close us in a prayer, Father?
Yes, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So gracious God, we give you thanks for the many ways that you bless us. We give you thanks for our vocations, all of our vocations, and the call that you have given us to serve you better in our lives, but especially in your church. And so I ask that you may continue to bless us, that you might open up our hearts to continue to do your will. And I ask this in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Father.
Bye.
Bye.